starting a hardware company that manufactures things in the middle of, the largest pandemic in 100 years, not highly recommended. Hey, I'm Jeff Wilson. I'm CEO of Jupe. We are a flat packable, rapid deployment housing technology company in Los Angeles, Torrance, California. See behind me one of our flat packable units in the superstructure in the background. And happy to be here on the show today and give you guys a tour. Give you a little bit of background on where we're coming from. I actually have a background living in a dumpster. I was formerly a university professor, and then for a year to study small space and living off grid, I lived in a 33-foot square foot trash can and sort of went by this character, a Bill Nye character called Professor Dumpster. Explore this whole idea of how we can live smaller on less stuff in a very portable manner, have a better life in some ways. I actually was a legitimate professor. I had a PhD in environmental science. I came from outside of the industry, outside of the field, which was part of the reason why I was crazy enough to try to do something in this field. The idea was to try to live in 1% the volume of the average new American home and use 1% the energy and water. I actually had a class called Dumpster 101, first year environmental science class, where we looked at all those things. Sometimes I'd even take a night off from the dumpster and a student would stay in there and record their experience living in a smaller space and with smaller stuff. We wanted to use something that not only had four walls, but was also symbolic of, sort of the space and stuff we throw away.
Love it. The 1% project.
The 1%. Yeah. I was thinking about how I would become part of the 1% as a university professor. This was pretty much the only way to get there. You could say that after being trashed for an entire year, I recycled those lessons. I used that experience and launched a prefab company called HICo with a K. It was essentially a backyard ADU prefab company. It was based out of Austin. We had them permitted for here in the state of California. And then that sold off at the end of 2018 to become a hospitality brand. Got a fantastic team. Myself, I've got, a background in the modular industry. My co-founder, Cameron Blizzard, operator with background in private equity and banking. Al Terrell, Harvard MBA with a background at Tesla. Jeff had been at SpaceX, Tesla, done work in operations and supply chain. Other prefab ADU companies in town. And together, we are all working towards a new model, a rapid deployment, affordable, comfortable unit. But, we moved very fast. I hired my first person, a guy from SpaceX in April. We're now able to ship product. We've got our first products that are fully baked and ready. It's all sort of in the midst of the pandemic. This was from a photo shoot last week. You can either have a super minimalistic kind of look. This is looking out at these are not renders, downtown Los Angeles with that storage and the porch in front of you. Or if you want to deck it out a little bit more there on the right. So here was the major kind of insight and aha moment. After HICo, I was sitting around thinking like, all right, the things that no one wants to deal with that are difficult are mechanical, electrical, plumbing, air conditioning, your toilet, your shower, your kitchen. All of the systems that make that work are typically done by independent trades in once at a time. Even in a factory, right? These things are generally assembled above the foundation. The other thing that hasn't really been solved for in prefab housing is the actual foundation. People are still pouring slabs on grade, or they are still putting in piles, right? Or some sort of foundation structure. So I said, what if we could take some cues from the automobile industry, specifically the Rivian skateboard vehicle chassis, where they pack all the batteries and motors in there, and say, why don't we create a foundation product that has everything shoved into that one little space, a 14-inch slab that is also highly transportable. So that's what we did. We said this 8.5 feet by 13 feet by 14-inch chassis. We're going to design a way to modularize that so that we can do everything from just making it storage to actually making those black water tanks or batteries or whatnot. The other thing we said we're going to do is no more on grid, right? The fact that we're still plugging into water and electric utilities is sort of absurd. We really wanted to take up that challenge of pulling this whole system off grid and not have any connections in. You could call it wireless housing. Yeah, almost with, wireless charging housing. If chassis that we have is at one, the actual foundation, right? When you walk around on a Jupe, you don't feel like you're in an Airstream or a tiny home or a yurt or anything like that. It's solid, right? So it not only acts as the foundation product, but it stores all the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing parts in a way that flat packs down so that we can rapidly deploy these. One of the key aspects of this is also the transport problem, right? So when you look at a typical sort of tiny home or container or any of these sort of volumetric types of transports, you're usually getting one or two per truckload. Put those on an 18-wheeler and have a special driver, et cetera. We're able to fit up to 24 of our living units because they flat pack down onto a single 40-foot flatbed trailer that anybody with a regular driver's license can drive. And so when you're talking about mass deployment and redeployment, this becomes very important at any kind of scale problem, which is generally the problems that you're talking about, in terms of housing innovation.
Is the exoskeleton top part also included? Like, is it packing into that flat pack, or is it two different pieces?
All packed in.
Oh, it's all packed in.
So the bed, the headboard, the end tables, skeletal structure, a soft top are all packed into that 14 inches.
So you have that. So there's 24 of those.
There's 24
homes units.
There's 24 fully inclusive units on that one truck.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right. And that's a mind blower. Right now, I mean, this is aspirational. We're probably more like 5 stacks times 3, so more like about 15, but we have a direction to get here. This is what our kind of MVP unit looks like. It is, and actually I'm going to show you what one of these actually looks like, several on the floor, but the idea is that we have this fireproof soft top, right? 11-foot ceilings. We can even make these ADA if we need to, with a wider step and a ramp. Queen mattresses, dimmable LEDs, an off-grid 200 amp hour battery that allow you to go 2 or 3 days charging all of your stuff, and some solar panels, and then we can add Wi-Fi. And these things are priced at around $17,500 for the base unit. Of course, at volumes, we can get that price down. That's the one-off price.
And that doesn't include the bathrooms. That's just the exoskeleton baseboard with, I guess, the electrical of the MEP. So you have the E of the MEP.
That's right. You have the E of the MEP. And we're developing out a hardtop that will have plumbing in it off-grid. And we are developing out, actually, before that, a kind of unit that about 10 Jupes can be paired to this one bathroom and shower unit. Right. So we've got one unit that serves multiple folks.
And what's the name of this unit? This is like the Model S or something?
Yeah, this is the Model S, if you want to call it. Yeah, this is a Jupe single. This is our MVP that we're actually able to ship out right now. We're thinking about a variety of different options on bathrooms and other kind of amenities with this. One of them is just a side-by-side bolt-on bathroom, to where you would remove that side wall, and now you've got either a hard or soft top fully contained unit. And that could contain extra batteries, black water, fresh water, a micro kitchen, all those sort of things. But all of this is in R&D. This doesn't exist right now. I would expect that we'll start having our first external bathrooms that are detached in Q1, and probably have our first internal bathrooms by Q2 of next year. And those aren't priced yet. We've also got this sort of Tiling technology is something that I think is innovative and pretty interesting from a, sort of modularity. Like I'm yet to have seen any kind of objects like this in the housing industry. So the idea is that we have all these slots in the foundation tiles. Right now, they're almost all storage. Some of them you can pull a drawer out from the inside. Some of them are actually used for our electrical equipment. So we have our the E of the MEP in one of these that I can show you in a bit. The idea is that we'll be able to eventually insert black water tanks, more batteries, and different kind of implements on the top, right? So this allows us to have one chassis, one standard unit that we can configure in a variety of different ways.
A convertible where it sort of collapses.
Yeah, we looked at that. Like many convertibles, right? There's a lot of failure points there. So right now, it's not a one button. I'm sure if that became something that the market really wanted to pay for, then we could do that. We could do the old hand crank, rolling down the house. This is a view from the bed when we've got the major door on, and this is just a roll-up door, canvas in a variety of colors. Yeah, right here on the right side, there are two windows there that roll down that are screened.
So is it like a tent fabric then?
It's a high quality, fire resistant canvas material, last 5+ years. A lot of these cheap tents will last one season.
It's sort of like a constantly upgradable modular framework too.
Are now about 8 months into our development. So back in April, we hired our first person, one of the guys that built SpaceX rockets. And we built the first prototype, this one behind me, in his garage, what he referred to as his garage mahal. So we built this in about a month and engineered it, and then put it on a hilltop in LA, in Highland Park, and lived it, temperature tested it, elements tested it, and had folks stay in it. The overall goal was always to build a flat packable, rapid deployment system. And at the very beginning, we thought that there was maybe going to be hospital overloads that were going to require tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of beds. Well, it turned out, outside of New York City for a short period of time, that didn't happen. Began to look at other things. There are a variety of things that Jupe could be used from rapid deployment, FEMA type resources, affordable housing, homeless shelters, refugees, any type of displaced housing folks, or short-term rentals, putting these out on raw pieces of land and then renting them out. This base that it sits on, these bases, is the core kind of technology. It's where all of the kind of smarts and all of the guts of the entire house are. So we can modularize that and take the same base that we used out at Coachella with this top on it, right, and maybe one queen bed. We could then take that and reconfigure it with bunks for somebody that needs some sort of transition shelter. The foundation is providing whatever sort of comfort you need in a place. And then we can put anything on the top. We could 3D print on the top of these if we wanted to. Right now, our customers are folks that want to buy these and have them either in their backyard or their piece of land as another kind of structure on their piece of land. Once we get to we're making 500 of these a year in our factory, then we're going to be able to move, into being a supplier for homemakers, home builders, those other sorts of things. This is a factory where we can make 40 a month, where we've started making our first 4. So it's about 10,000 square feet. The stations here. I'll take you through some of the early prototypes. So
really memory lane that we're walking down right here.
I'm literally about to walk into memory lane. So this is our very first unit. We have a top for this that we placed in May through about July of this year to test. There's our data plate on it. And we did have kind of the things that make up Jupe. We had these tile structures, we had some batteries down there, and things just kind of worked. It did require us tightening up the canvas structure. It required some changes to put it together faster, but it is the sort of general shape of what we're trying to do. And even in these very early units, the idea that you have a like 10, 11 foot ceiling and that the walls on this thing actually slope a little out, that weird shape is not just like beautiful and kind of Cybertruck looky and something that you really can't unsee, but it actually, there's a lot of function. These things just feel massive when you're inside them relative to any other structure even close to the space. So that was the original unit. And then a lot of the kind of engineering changes were just around making the units faster, a little bit more comfortable and less expensive. So that one like took a month. Our next unit.
And what are the dimensions of the units? What is that? Like that's 8.5 feet wide. So that's a standard.
Yeah. So these are 8.5 feet wide by 13 feet long.
Why 13? Is that so you can put 3 on a 40-foot trailer?
3 on a 40-foot trailer.
It's like trying to do the math. The depth and the width is literally made around the transportation system.
Right. We've designed the entire system for mass deployment and redeployment. This was the next unit we built, and this was probably built, I'm going to say in about August. A little bit, got rid of the blue tiles. Same kind of basic design. We, made these, still have these sort of containers. There's some laundry, and re-engineered sort of how some of the wood and the corners go together. As you can see, we just kind of had holes initially in this one, and as you might imagine, didn't kind of hold up to some of the wind and stress that these might. So that one, I would say, is kind of in July. Our version, I guess, 5, which is the one that we have here. And this is almost the latest version. So this is one that we've been kind of throwing around in the field and testing a bit. Baltic birch flooring, really nice, sustainable, beautiful wood. Interior is coated. Is that composite coated? So there's a little bit of steel in it, including on the corners.
And that's where they screw in. That's where the exoskeleton.
That's right. This is where you get all the tolerance for lifting, putting it down, and for screwing in the masts. Headboard has some end tables. It has actual, plugs that lift up.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
On all 4 corners. But what I wanted to show you in this one, because it's more accessible, is some of the solar. The E, as you said, of the MEP. So we have a 200 amp hour solar and battery system here that I'll show. So we've got a 1,000-watt inverter and then the battery back there. So, on basic use of, say, Wi-Fi or phone or computer, maybe running a little fan or a coffee maker once or twice, that'll go for 2 or 3 days. We can scale that up. We can triple the battery capacity if we want. This is actually the aluminum poles. This is the entire superstructure of the Jupe. So all of it fits into basically that bag and those poles. And then in the units that are shipping, those poles will fit into the actual foundation. So drawer or a slot here. Yeah. So drawers and slots here. There's also a porch. It's a porch that packs into the unit and goes onto the front. This is all LED lighting. So and actually you've got the ability to dim that. Right. So you've got a dimmer switch right here on the headboard. Yeah. And you also have a switch at your entrance here. We've got all this storage. We've got enough storage to put not only coolers and your batteries and maybe HVAC or your food pantry, but we've got enough to fill up like the trunks of 2 Priuses. to deliver stuff inside and outside the unit with actually going into the room. If you wanted to push something in, right, somebody could just lift that up from the inside. Modular tiles, what are now just storage, those are going to be configurable into a variety of things down the road. So you might buy a Jupe that just has that as a storage container, and we can later ship you, when we have it developed, a cooler that could drop in there, or a trash can, or maybe on this side, a small heater or HVAC unit, or additional batteries, or a fridge in one of those compartments. You generally can't like plug and play modularly, things like that. We've got materials coming in for our next 3 this week. This is an actual MVP shippable unit that we're shipping to a customer here. So yeah, we're making these things and we're going to go. Like basically you pull it off the truck and it sits on 4 feet and self levels out like this. You just level it out and you're good to go. On our website, you can get in line by putting down just a $99 refundable pre-order. We're shipping these first units out the door in January. From ordering to when we have it done is a month. Use a forklift. We are working on a couple of ways, like an individual could just lift them off themselves without any forklift. It's a jacking system, basically the ability to jack them up, pull the truck out, and lower them down.
It's like the Jupiter landing.
It's the Jupiter landing, man. People looking for something a little bit higher design, right, that has a better feel to it. That's typically who's ordering these right now. We provide kind of standard warranties that you would see in a home. Equipment's all warranted, I think, for a year. And then we've got a multi-year warranty, chassis, foundation, those sort of things.
What are you working on right now after literally living in the latest model?
Would you rather have heat, air conditioning, or a toilet in your room? Should there be a toilet outside the room? Tightening up the canvas. I mean, it no longer flaps, but for a while, in earlier models, it flapped, and then little things like, okay, if I'm having drinks, from outside on my front porch, this one used to open the opposite direction. Well, now it opens where I can reach into the cooler, where we mount these, what kind of furniture goes inside. So that's what's really great about this product, is that, it's not something that you build once. You can iterate on it very quickly. So we've been through 5 versions of the product since April.
What do you say is the misunderstood aspect of this?
That it's a tent. Or a yurt or anything else like that. Like, none of those products have the level of sort of high design experience, a foundation, a platform that they sit on, lockable storage, queen bed, built-in power and lighting. It's more like a tiny house. It feels like sort of sleeping in a piece of art. Really.
Well, I mean, it is more expansive though than any of those. Even a yurt, it's more expansive than a yurt.
Right.
Your height, the ceiling heights.
6'1", and I cannot hit my head on any of the top of the Jupe, and anywhere, even standing on the bed. Folks look at it sometimes and just say, "Oh, it's canvas, it's just tent," or like a living space and sort of living in a sci-fi piece of art.
What would you say is the most innovative aspect of this?
It's an entire system that can deploy and redeploy a level of comfort off grid that no one else can, right? So it is a chess piece that does not currently exist in the world. Something that can set up anywhere on Earth on a piece of dirt quickly, give a high design overnight experience, then pack up and move somewhere else. The ability to flat pack all of this in a very tight chassis and ramp this thing up to where we can make hundreds of thousands of these a year. There just aren't very many companies like that. You are a marketing genius.
As the queen.
You're a marketing genius.
Jeff, I appreciate the tour of the Jupe today. I look forward to seeing next iterations down the road.
Cool. Look forward to having you in one. We were in inspired by the planet Jupiter because it's about 400 times the size of Mars. And
why
that's
is that important? Is that like an Elon Musk, like our goal's bigger than yours?
Yeah. Our goal is 400x of SpaceX, right? So we're just encouraging people not to think so small.
Is that really the background of the word Jupe?
Yeah, actually, coming up with different, and we had things like simple structures and all this. And then we were like, well, everybody's going to Mars. What's bigger than Mars? And we're like, Jupiter. Okay, what is that? Let's just say 400 times bigger. Okay, ourselves Jupe. Let's call ourselves Jupe.